Good afternoon. On the sixth day of the Israeli aggression on the Gaza Strip, the Zionists continued their savage crimes against the Palestinian people. More than 18 Palestinians were killed since dawn today. The Palestinian resistance continued its retaliation, firing more rockets on Israeli positions in occupied Palestinian territories.
3 Palestinians were killed in another Israeli air raid on Gaza. The Israeli warplanes fired a rocket on a car in Deir al-Balah, killing 3 martyrs from one family. A 3-year-old child was also killed in another Israeli raid. 2 Palestinian farmers were also killed, and another little girl was wounded. The Israeli forces committed a new massacre, shelling the house of 3 families, killing 4 people and wounding 40 others, including 25 children. An old woman was also wounded in another air raid that caused heavy damage to the houses near the sports stadium. 4 Palestinians were also wounded in an Israeli raid on the police station in Al-Shuja'iyya, and they were taken to hospital. The Israeli warplanes also attacked the tunnels on the borders with Egypt without any report of casualties. The martyrs of the Israeli aggression rose to 87, and more than 700 others have been wounded since last Wednesday.
In a new violation of the holy shrines and places of worship, gangs of Israeli settlers set fire to the mosque of the village of Arif in the south of Nablus in the West Bank, destroying it completely. The Palestinians chased the settlers away and put off the fire. China today called for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and avoid taking any action that can escalate the situation further, at the same time reasserting its firm and supportive stand regarding the Palestinian cause and the rights of the Palestinian people. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Changyang held a press conference today, during which she urged all parties, especially Israel, to show and demonstrate maximum restraint. It is to be noted that China supported the Palestinians' request for a UN recognition of the Palestinian state. In Aleppo, Syrian Arab Army units continued to chase the terrorist groups in a qualitative operation, raiding the terrorist hideouts near Miami Restaurant, Al-Kindi Hospital and Al-Bakkara Mosque in Handarat. The operation resulted in heavy losses among the terrorists, killing a number of their leaders and destroying 10 vehicles equipped with medium and heavy machine guns. Another Syrian Arab Army unit conducted a series of operations against the groups of terrorists in Al-Atarib, Dar Azza, Kafarnaha, Deir Hafir, Bani Zayd, Bustan al-Qasr and Al-Musallamiyya, killing many terrorists. A unit from the Syrian Arab Army targeted the location of the so-called military council for the terrorist groups in Rashidiyya in Deir Zor, killing dozens of terrorists. In Homs, army units clashed yesterday with terrorists who committed acts of murder and looting against residents in the neighborhood of Bab al-Turkman. The clashes resulted in the killing of a number of terrorists, including 7 who had the Saudi nationality, in addition to 2 Tunisians. Other terrorists were of Jordanian, Lebanese and Egyptian nationalities. In Damascus, terrorists targeted today the Masjid residential area neighborhood with mortar shells, causing material damages in the place, with no victims or injuries reported among the citizens. A source in the Interior Ministry mentioned that 4 mortar shells launched by terrorists fell near the Arab Cultural Center, the regional center for early childhood, Al-Farabi Street and Al-Jala Garden in Al-Masjid area, causing only material damage. In Damascus countryside, the Syrian Arab Army units chased terrorists who committed acts of killing, looting and sabotage in Daraya town. An official source mentioned that tens of terrorists have been eliminated, in addition to the destruction of many cars the terrorists were using in transporting ammunition and arms. The source added that a unit of the armed forces clashed with a terrorist group in Al-Hajjera town in Damascus countryside, eliminating all its members. The source also pointed out that the leader of the group, who was nicknamed Abu al-Abbas, was identified among the dead. Clashes also resulted in the destruction of 6 mortar cannons. In the framework of targeting the national cadres, the terrorists assassinated today morning Brigadier Abdullah al-Dirawi director of a Nabik area directorate, and 4 policemen who were accompanying him when he was heading from his house to his office in the city. A source in the police command in Damascus countryside said that an armed terrorist group set an armed ambush to the brigadier and his companions in a Nabik city, shooting fire at them directly, which caused their martyrdom. In Hasake, the terrorists blew up yesterday a bomb planted in front of the central bank branch in the city, killing a child and wounding her mother. Meanwhile, a source in the governorate said that the engineering units foiled an attempt to blow up an explosive device weighing 25 kilograms of TNT planted by the terrorists in the same site of the first explosion, intended to be detonated when crowds of citizens and rescue crews gather. In Tehran, the conference of the Syrian National Dialogue continued its work under the motto "No to Violence and Yes to Democracy." Participants rejected any military intervention in Syria and any solution imposed from abroad. They also called upon the neighboring countries to control their borders and to prevent the smuggling of weapons and terrorists into Syria. The conference is attended by representatives of the Syrian government and political trends of the opposition, in addition to more than 200 figures, tribal chiefs and religious clerks. The Iranian Foreign Minister Ali Akbar Salehi asserted that the conference paved the way for dialogue between the Syrian government and the opposition. The participants stressed the necessity of a political solution to the crisis and the rejection of any solution imposed by foreigners. He added that Iran stands by the Syrian people to achieve their rightful demands with full respect for Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity. A committee was formed to follow up the national dialogue and to expand it to include all factions of the Syrian opposition. With this, we come to the end of our news for today. Stay with us after the break. Denise has the latest in economy. For more details, you can visit our website in English, www.syriaonline.sy.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The Ministry of Industry is starting the modernization program for industrial development in Syria and to implement an in-depth training program to raise the capabilities of workers in the ministry and its affiliated companies according to guidelines set by the United Nations Organizations for Industrial Development and the Industrial Modernization Plans. The Ministry pointed out that the program is funded by Syria collaboration with UNIDO. The funding amounted to 1.5 million euros. The Ministry added that it has conducted a comprehensive review of the second phase of the plan in the light of the current conditions, growth chances, as the program adopted the implementation activities that can be implemented under the current circumstances and rely on the national experiences in implementing possible activities. The program takes actions and necessary measures and the preparations needed for the implementation of the activities that are currently difficult. The General Customs Directorate said that it had launched the new customs valuation system, which helped the customs agents in retracing accurate information during the process of customs valuation and to avoid arbitrary and random estimates of the prices of goods during the clearances processes. They also announced the establishment of a single window building in the customs secretariats in Damascus, Latakia, Judaydat Yabus and Tartus during short periods of time. The Directorate confirmed the activating of the principle of transit mail through the world program known as ASICUDA, which is a solution to get rid of routine obstacles that is taking extra effort and costs, referring to the project of observing the passing trucks via satellite, which will secure a safer movement for trucks as it will also increase the flow of commercial traffic to required pace and will put an end to the smuggling operations because of its high capacity to monitor goods crossing Syrian territory. The General Establishment for Engineering Industries requested the General Company for Manufacturing TV and Electronic Equipment, Cironex, to seek for long-term strategic partnerships with specialized companies in order to produce new and sophisticated devices. The establishment also emphasized the need for the marketing, as it should seek to increase the company's share in the market as much as possible through the guaranteed marketing of the production, specifically the LCD TVs, in addition to the need for developing a doable and productive plan that meets the market's demands. The Ministry of Agriculture estimated the olive production this season to about 1 million tonnes, producing approximately 175,000 tons of olive oil and 170,000 tons of table olive. Moreover, there are 12% cultivated lands with these trees in Syria and 65% cultivated with fruitful trees, according to the latest statement, which contributes in 1.5 to 3.5% of the national income. The total income achieved by Latakia's port until the end of October was about 1.6 billion Syrian pounds, as the productivity registered economic revenues for the shipping services provided by the port to the commercial ships and the tankers. The manager, Dr. Hatem Al-Mahmoudi, said that 51 ships docked at the port during October, carrying various goods, with a total income of about 139 million and 113,000 Syrian pounds during the same period, pointing out that the production achieved by the incoming and outgoing goods exceeded 4 million tons, with about 1.571 billion Syrian pounds in revenues. Oil gained for a second day in New York amid concerns that Middle East unrest will disrupt the supplies and speculations that the U.S. will avert automatic spending cuts and tax rises. This will threaten to throw the nation into a new recession. Stocks in the U.S. snapped the longest losing strike in almost a year on optimism that a deal can be reached to avoid automatic U.S. spending cuts and tax increase. The Japanese stocks rose, capping its third biggest gain in 3 days since March 2011, as utilities jumped on optimism regarding next month's elections. The European stocks climbed, rebounding from a three-month low, as U.S. President expressed confidence that he will strike a deal with the Congress on a new budget. Gold gained for the first time in 3 days, with the spot gold advancing by about 0.7. The gold is climbing alongside other commodities as the dollar weakened and investors boosted holdings in exchange-traded products to a record high. The dollar index fell from near a 10-week high as demand weakened for the U.S. currency amid prospects that lawmakers will reach agreement on the nation's budget. The pound strengthened for a third day against the dollar after an industry report showed high prices during November. Ladies and gentlemen, this was our economic news for today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.